Oh, let's talk about tier 5, the last tier on my list. So let's roll the intro and just get straight into it. What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going over all the components you can unlock at tier 5, or which has the tier 5 mark on it. And I'm giving my opinion about them like usual. And remember, it's opinion based. You may differ, but this is all my experience and all the years I've been playing the game. The ways I would unlock them first, and some would unlock last. So I guess it's a very big list. I'm not going to call every single component. I'm just going to tell you we're going over 7 guns, 7 different movement types, 3 shields, and heavy cubes. That's what we're going over today. So let's roll the intro and start with the tier 5 lasers, because we always start with the lasers. So let's roll and let's go for the lasers. A little disclaimer before we actually go into the first segment. All the weapons have a max fire rate count of 1. It doesn't differ between the guns. So that means you only need 1 gun to have the maximum fire rate. But like I always suggest, double it. If it says 4, try to go for 8. And in this case, try to at least go for 2, maybe 3, depending on what type of gun you want. But mainly use 2 of them, because that just has a little buffer. If one gets knocked off, you still have the max fire rate and still have the amazing damage. So, with that little disclaimer, let's roll right in. So the first one on the list is of course the tier 5 laser. I wanted to say tier 1. It has a CPU of 250 because it's a mega weapon. For the people, the OGs under us, these are the mega weapons we're going to talk about mostly, at least. It gives you a robo ranking of 2.5 million, which basically means you get placed into tier 5 while placing this weapon. And so you can't really do anything with this weapon other than have it on a specific tier 5 bot. Because if you want it to be on a different type of bot or a lower tier, you should definitely switch to the tier 4 lasers. Just keep in mind, most of the weapons are tier 5 instant. So, would I recommend this gun? Yes, definitely. I love lasers. I keep on saying it. I love them. I very much love them. The next one on my list is the tier 5 plasma. The tier 5 plasma sets you back 300 CPU. It has a health of 300,000 and it has a robo ranking of 3 million, which basically means you get placed into tier 5 with only placing this particular weapon. Would I recommend this weapon? Yes and no. Personally, I do not like plasmas. They've been weird lots. I'd rather take any other weapon. So I would say if you're a fan of plasmas, definitely use them. If you're not, there are better options for you out there. The next one on my list is the tier 5 chain gun. Wow. It sets you back a whopping 325 CPU. It has a health of nearly 400,000. It's actually 390,000. It sets you back a whopping 3.25 million robo ranking. Would I recommend this gun? Yes. As of the current state of recording this, chain guns are pretty strong. But keep in mind, if you're using chain guns, you want to have a duo setup. Like, it's a big target, it does have a lot of health, but if one gun gets knocked off, you basically die. And the normal amount of weapons is 1 gun for maximum fire rate, but you want more than 1 gun. Next one on my list is the tier 5 mortar, of course. It sets you back 290 CPU and it has a 290,000 health pool. It has a robo ranking of 2.9 million, so you get instantly placed into tier 5 without placing any other weapons. On the screenshot, you will the mask will be shown, etc. for the people that are interested in it. Would I recommend this this particular thing or weapon? I do not know. I'm personally not a fan of mortars, but I've seen some of my buddies being amazingly good with it, and they're pretty powerful if you know how to play with them. But keep in mind, this gun does require some skill. So for the beginners that just come into here, just it's hard. I've not mastered it, but the gun does do pretty well when it comes to damage, but it is a skill weapon. So if you want to do this, feel free to do it, but it wouldn't, in my opinion, it should not be the first you unlock. The next one on my list is the tier 5 Seeker, aka the missile launcher, the big one. So it sets you back 275 CPU. It has a health of 275,000 and it has a robo ranking of 2.75 million. It sets you back straight into tier 5. So basically, if you place it, you'll get placed in tier 5. Would I recommend this weapon? No, not at first. Personally, I only use this when it comes to art type builds, because it's not the best. You're either better with the PSK, Proto Seeker, or the tier 3 Seeker, or the mini missiles, because I do not really see a use or see that played that often. But however, it is fun when you use it as an art bod. Like for example, you make a helicopter, a real life helicopter, and you put missiles on it. And you're still better off using the smaller ones, because these are massive. But you know, you could try them, but wouldn't recommend unlocking them first. The next one on my list is the tier 5 Arrow Flak Cannon. It sets you back at 300 CPU. It has a health of 330,000. Jesus, talking is hard. And it has a robo ranking of 3 million. Which means, yes, you guessed it, you get placed into tier 5 without doing anything. Would I recommend this weapon? Yes. It is by far one of my most played weapons. Like back in the days, I used to have a duo of this one duo setup. Now I have either the smaller one or this one on my Mac or whatever I play, depending on what type of craft I am. Keep in mind, arrow flak cannons cannot be shot in the air, or at least when you're flying or hovering or jumping, you cannot shoot them. So you want to keep it on like a Sprinter or a Mac. So most of the time when I build one of those, I put on an arrow flak cannon. And when I go tier 5, I put on the tier 5 arrow flak cannon because I prefer them. Does that mean you should unlock them? Yes, but there are better options like a laser and a railgun you should unlock first. And then you can look at the arrow flak. And if you hate flyers as much as I do, you just want to slap it on straight away. But you know, that's my opinion. The next one and the last one on the weapons list is of course the tier 5 railgun. This gun sets you back 260 CPU and has a robo health of 260,000. It has a robo rank of 2.6 million, which basically means you get placed into tier 5. So, would I recommend this gun? Heck yes. This is by far one of the best railguns you can get. It's one of my personal most played railguns next to the tier 3 ones, of course. This is basically a meta weapon nowadays. So, should you unlock this thing? Yes, definitely. And yes, you should definitely get this one. It's amazing. But if you suck with aiming, it's probably not recommended. But if you're half decent at aiming and know how to play railguns, definitely try this one out. I would highly suggest it. The next on the list is of course the movement ports, which we start off with the tier 5 mech lags. It sets you back 205 CPU. It has a health of 533,000. It has a speed of 118. And it has a robo ranking of 2.05 million. And it sets you back into tier 5, of course. Would I recommend this massive, massive lag? Well, to be honest, yes. If I said no, I probably could have gotten people saying to me like, hey, you use it all the time on mechs. Well, yes, most mechs I use the tier 5 on. But keep in mind, if you're using this, please do make sure it's not the only movement type you have. And of course, always run 2 of them minimum. So then you are at 410 CPU. And always never, ever, ever when you make a certain type of craft, use one movement type. So only use mech. No, you want to slap on some hovers. So you're going to have a relatively small-ish craft, depending on what weapons you want. But I think it's kind of worth it, and I have had a lot of fun playing with these. Next one on the list is tier 5 tank tracks. It sets you back 125 CPU for 1. It has a health of 350,000. And to make it even worse, it has a max speed of 180. It sets you back, or it gives you a robo ranking of 1.25 million. And it basically means you get placed into, you guessed it, tier 5. These giant tank tracks, I have mixed feelings about. For normal use, I wouldn't recommend it. But for making art builds or making a real life tank, yes, you could use them. But I personally I'm not a huge fan of tank tracks other than build challenges or realistic builds or like art bots. So for normal use, I would not recommend. If you want to use them as a art purpose, go right ahead. Next one on the list are tier 5 wheels. Well, they're beautiful. It sets you back 100 CPU per wheel. It has 200,000 health and a speed of 230 miles per hour. It just about puts you in tier 5, and it has a robo ranking of 1 million. Well, question everybody wants to know, is it recommended, yes or no? And sadly, it's no. I absolutely love wheels, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to playing the game and the restrictions you have with it, it's just not worth it. It's a very big target, you're stuck to the ground. You can't really move to the side from plasmas or mortars or anything like that. Keep in mind, you have very powerful weapons against you. But when it comes to building with these, definitely try them out. But with building, I mean art buildings or just fun builds. Not when it not really builds to win games or get you anywhere. Like if you want to win rounds, etc., want to win tournaments, you should not do this. Except when the tournament is, of course, use this particular movement part or build something with this particular movement part. Then you could use them. Other than that, don't use them if you want to do anything related to competitive. Next one on the list is the tier 5 hover, which sets you back 100 CPU. There's a robo health of 150,000 and a speed of 200 miles per hour. It has a robo ranking of 1 million, which basically means, you guessed it, you got placed into tier 5. And the question everybody is probably wondering right now, would I recommend it? No. Sorry, not sorry. Why would I not recommend one of my favorite movement types in the game? Well, Long story short, this is a massive, I mean massive hover. If you want to do anything with this particular style, you need to have smaller hovers. You need to have a design that fits it. So when it comes to this particular movement part, you're better off using either it for cosmetic purposes or to make a trial hover. I've had some hovers which are on the side, and then I've other hovers when they get knocked off, my hover can still go without them. Like, then you need to design a hover which can basically function completely separate from that hover. Because if the hover gets destroyed, which it's very likely to do, you're going to lose the entire function of your bot. And don't even try to combine it with any other movement type, because that's going to be even more hideous. So, I have to say, it's not recommended, but I absolutely love it. But if you're interested and you have unlocked everything else, definitely unlock this one as well. I would say if you're using hovers and you want the extra bulk damage sink, or you want to use it as art purposes, unlock it. If you want to go for a competitive way, don't unlock it. Unlock it last. Next one on the list is a tier 5 rudder, which sets you back 25 CPU. It has a health of 27.5 thousand. A speed of 240. And it places you in tier 4. Just by placing one of these wings, you get placed into tier 4. Placing a total number of 4 of these wings places you in tier 5, for the people that want to know. And it gives you a robo ranking of 250,000. And would I recommend this? Yes, definitely. Why? It's good as a segment movement type. And it has 4 connection points, which means you can very easily do rod and triforcing with this. Which, for the people that don't know, is one of the best ways to build bots in this game. Because basically what it does to triforcing and rod forcing, it makes damage go a certain path and goes in damage sinks or whatever you want with it, really. Or it just doesn't connect to specific parts. So would I recommend this? Yes, but not as main movement type, but as second movement type, for example, on a sprinter flyer, I should add. Next one on the list is the tier 4 or tier 5 wing. Excuse me. It sets you back 28 CPU. It has a robo health of 33.6 thousand. A top speed of 240 miles per hour. And you guessed it, you got placed into tier 4. And just like, now it's not really like the rudders, but placing 3 of them equals tier 5, basically. It has a robo ranking of 280. And would I recommend this? Just like the rudder, I would recommend it. But also I would not recommend this particular wing. Why I would recommend it? It has 4 connection points, which basically means you can run and triforce very easily. Why I wouldn't recommend it? Placing around 4 of these wings sets you back a whopping 112 CPU. And why would you use 4 wings, you may ask? If it's not as main movement part. Well, if you're building a sprinter flyer, you need like 4 of these wings. Or, yeah, wings. And even though the connection points are very nice, but depending on what type of sprinter flyer you're going with, in my particular case, I went for a shield sprinter flyer, which I did not have the CPU to place the tier 5 ones. I went for tier 4, I think. But keep in mind, for the stuff you need to make a sprinter flyer, you're set on wings and rudders. You need 4 rudders and 4 wings-ish. And it sets you back at 212 CPU. So keep in mind, if you want to make a sprinter flyer, even in with tier 5 components, you're going to in for a grind and some hassle when it comes to placing blocks or in getting not over the CPU limit. So I would recommend it, but it needs to fit your build. The next one on my list is the tier 5 thruster, which sets you back 18 CPU. It has a robo health of 18,000 and 240 miles per hour when it comes to speed. Placing one of these thrusters will get you into tier 4. And placing around 5 of them, I can't talk. That pushes you into tier 5. So basically, 4 or 5 of them, I keep saying the same thing, 5 of them equals tier 5. The robo ranking on one of these is 180,000. And would I recommend this one? Definitely. Thrusters are must-haves, especially when you go for fast movement type or anything like that. And tier 5s are like, you can't go wrong with thrusters. So would I recommend getting this? Definitely. Definitely get this, one of the first things you should get. Like, if not, get this one first out of all of them. You're better off using this than not using this at all. So get this first. Next one on the list is, of course, the shields. So we started with shield A in tier 5, which sets you back 56 CPU. It has a health of 117.6 thousand. And placing one of these shields puts you into tier 4. It gives you a robo ranking of 560,000. And of course, you do use it in pairs because it's weird when you use one shield. So placing 2 of them, the left and the right, of course, puts you back 112 CPU. It has a health of 235.2. You get placed into tier 5. And it has a robo ranking of 1.12 million. And that's with 2 shields. Would I recommend it? Still not a big fan of shields. So, again, when it comes to our builds, yes. Competitive builds, no. So, depending on what you want with it, I would not recommend using this first as a shield class. The other 2 shields I would recommend due to the meta, but this one I would only recommend if you have a specific purpose for it, like art style or mainly just art, because it just gets knocked off very fast anyway. Next one on the list is the first Mega Shield. What I call with Mega Shield, it's the tier 5 Beast Shield. That's the first Mega Shield. For the OGs on the road, Mega Bots, haha, Mega Shields. It sets you back 130 for 1. It has a health of 243 or 34. I mean, it sets you back to tier 5 instantly. It has a robo ranking of 1.3 million. But like every shield, you're probably not using it for one. You're using as a duo because they come in left and right. And you're probably using both of them, except if you're a stupid person that uses metabots like me. Or builds one of them. Like, it's quite fun to build them, though. And play with them. Anyways. It was a joke for the people that didn't know it. It sets you back for 2 of them. 260 CPU. It has a health of 468,000. You get placed into tier 4 and you have a robo ranking of 2.6 million. Yes, I did have to look it up because I was weird. So, would I recommend these shields? Definitely. Like I said in last clip, Mega Shields are a must-have nowadays. Especially if you're going tier 5 and in the tryhard modes or the comp modes or anything like that. These are required. I hate the look of shields, but not that you're running these shields, you're already in a disadvantage when it comes to competitive. So, if you're not interested in competitive, I would not recommend it or any competitive aspect. Or winning aspect, I should say. You don't have to do it. But if you want to go competitive or do tournaments, etc., you should definitely try these ones out. And know how to build with them, of course. But that's in a later tutorial for me. Next one on the list is the other Mega Shield, aka the Tier 5 Shield C. Yeah. It sets you back 130 CPU. It has a robo health of 234,000. You get instantly placed into Tier 5. It has a robo ranking of 1.3 million. But like any other shield, you want to go with the double setup. So let's run the double setup. It sets you back 260 CPU, 468,000 health, Tier 5 of course, and you have no speed because it doesn't move, and a robo ranking of 2.6 million. So would I recommend this? Just like the other Mega Shield, I would definitely recommend this. And to give an added bonus to it, I personally like the look of it. It's like probably one of the only shields I quite like and quite like to build with as well. For aesthetic purposes, that is. But they're very good when it comes to competitive and aesthetics. So would I recommend this one? Yes, I would definitely recommend this one in either one of the cases. So let's go into the next section. Next one on the list is the Tier 5 TX cube, or aka compact cube with a weird electronics inside of it. This thing sets you back for placing 1 block, 3 CPU. It has a health of 4.5 thousand, and you get placed into Tier 3 just placing one of these cubes. One cube has a robo ranking of 30 and a mass of 3 for the people that are wondering. And yes, you have different types of it, and the only difference is nothing. There is no difference when it comes to robo ranking or CPU use or mass using the corner slopes or full blocks, etc. Would I recommend this particular cube? Well, yes. When it comes to cubes and building tanky bots without using shields, these guys are your best bet. Some might say do not do it, but I'm personally a big fan of these. So, in any case, I would definitely recommend this one. Because I personally like building with them. And, yeah. So, for me, you should unlock them as well. And make a combination between this and heavy cubes. Because then you have the best, best combination. But when it comes to, for example, flyer types, heavy cubes are TX cubes or compact cubes, whatever you want to call it. I call them TX cubes, are your best friend. Because they have low mass and heavy cubes have high mass. But yet they still have an insane amount of health. So you could do some amazing things with this. And pretty tanky as well. I've seen it. And that's why I recommend it. So guys, that was my list for today. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share it with your friends. That helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that you want this series to continue on my channel. And do be sure to check out the description. I made a multi-link. Would be very helpful. If you guys helped around, share it a bit. Make sure my social media gets out there so I can get a bigger audience and maybe get Robocraft back on the track. So guys, thank you for watching. And see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.